And speaking of getting really good, I kind of wanted to discuss with you not just managers per se, but then also managing your money as a pro fighter. And one of the things that a lot of fighters do is they'll relocate for their fight camp. You know, the 6, 8, 10 weeks of their camp, they'll go to somewhere else to train. Um, when do you think it's time for a fighter to start actually paying more money than they might pay at their gym to relocate to somewhere to put that camp together?
Yeah, I don't know that it really is necessary. It's definitely not a necessity,
Mhm.
meaning you don't absolutely have to do it. There are plenty of guys at the highest level who have a small team of, I'll say no name, but I don't mean they're no good. I just mean you don't know their names. I don't know their names. A team focused around them, right? So you don't have to go, like, you don't have to be at the biggest gym ever. Will it help? Probably. But if you're just starting out, if you're green, and you go, for example, I went out to Militich very early in my career, and I just got pummeled. I just got pummeled. I remember Josh Neer kicked me in the face one time, and I literally almost just started crying, not because it hurt, but because of how defeated I was. Um, so if you're like a first grader getting your butt kicked by 12th graders every day, it's not really doing anything. So I think there's a natural progression. So whether you relocate, you can't. I mean, you can if it fits. For me, it didn't really fit. I was in a good spot in New Jersey at AMA. I had access to South Jersey and Frankie and Almeida and New York with Henzo. Like, I just started. I started where I started in my small town, and then I would take a step and take a step and take a step. Identify a good, nice person who's a good fighter in your area, and say, "Hey, I'd like to come train. Can I come train?" Maybe they'll make you pay, but chances are that if you're resilient, if you're tough, if you're committed, if you're dedicated, they'll invite you back. Early in my career, super early, I moved to Eastern PA, further east than where I am now. I would drive to Philly and train with Fight Factory and Eddie Alvarez and a few other fighters there. Then I connected with Frankie. I would drive an hour. I would drive two. Sometimes trips to Jersey was like three, or Philly was 3.5 hours because of traffic, and I would just train. And they respect that and they appreciate that. So before you kind of move,
Mhm.
start to connect with some legit fighters and show your worth, and they'll like having you around because you're a valuable training partner to them. I did, that being said, I did, when the timing was right, travel out to Dan Henderson's gym in Temecula, Matt Hughes' gym in Illinois, all kinds of gyms here in the East Coast. It was important to me that, hey, if I want to get to like the best of the best, I need to feel what those guys are like. So absolutely, whether you do it short term or long term, I think exposing yourself to that is a necessity, right? So absolute diving in, moving, dropping everything, paying big bucks, not necessarily a prerequisite, but exposing yourself to that is.
Sure. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there is you're still surrounding yourself with people that you consider good people and people that you trust. For instance, Militich, not that they were bad people or people that you didn't trust, but that was not a fit for you.
Yeah,
So
well,
find the
they
gym that's a
didn't.
fit.
Yeah, plus it was. I mean, it was great. That was just one example, but
Mhm.
they didn't know me. I didn't know
Sure.
them. Plus they were like levels above me. This was when Militich was like legit Militich. But then the trust part is huge. I'm glad you touched on that because it would be easy to go into a place of buzzsaws and literally get close to murdered and hurt because they don't know and don't care about you. So it is one of the like scariest things in the world is going to a big time gym like that, not knowing anybody and just being shark bait because they don't know you, they don't care about you, and they're out to kill. Much better to have some sort of a relationship as you enter that situation because your health and safety is important.
Now, on the flip side of that, do you think that, once you start progressing and you get to the level where I've always been told you never should want to be the best guy in the gym, right? So if you get to the level where you're finding these training partners around in the area, but you're kind of getting the best of the most of the time, do you think that it's worth then bringing people in from outside and paying them as part of your camp?
It could be. I've never done that.
Okay.
So in the prep, I saw that questioning. I've never done that. I've paid trainers. I've never paid a sparring partner. I've paid to go places. Like
Okay.
you got to cover. I mean, my travel really. But most of the time, when you get to that point, it's a reciprocal relationship. So you may have to pay to train at a gym, just like you pay to train at any gym. They may do a little quick search on you and be like, "Oh, this guy can offer some. Yeah, why don't you come? We'll put you up in our fighter house. You just pay $50 a whatever." It's all different situations. But I've never paid anyone to come train with me because I was around guys that I didn't need to. They were plenty good enough. And to briefly touch on this, you never want to be the best guy in the room. There is a time and a place for it, right? So you don't want to make your living being the best guy in the room, smashing everybody all the time, right? But if you take a month and go out to Matt Hughes' gym and then you come home, it's going to be pretty nice to be able to use your new skills on someone on which you're able to use your new skills, right? So it's kind of like you don't want to get too soft, but going hardcore in the fire every single day without any place to practice it, there's some advantage to the being the big guy time or two.
And that idea of leaving and then coming back with a new skill set. Most of the time in the your home gym, you're training with the same, whether it's 5, 6, 10, 11 people. You start to learn their skill set, start to learn what they kind of specialize in. Um, so with bringing those new skill sets in, have you ever been the guy who is the specialist in wrestling or this or that, and had to work with somebody else at your gym to develop one of their skills? Like, sharing kind of skill sets and things like that, is that something that you would say benefited you in your fight career?
Yeah, and it's highly recommended too. I mean, absolutely. So I can't tell you how many everything the relationship works between wrestling and jiu-jitsu, wrestling and stand up, all of it. It's like the perfect situation because I don't have to pay you money and you don't have to pay me money. We each have like a barter here that we both want to win and we both want to be the best. I have this thing that you need, you have this thing that I need. Let's work together to raise both ourselves.
And one last thing before I let you go, which is kind of a hot topic, not just in MMA and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and whatnot, but I think across all sports, is strength and conditioning. And I follow you on all of your social medias. I see the different strength and conditioning workouts that you're doing. But while you were fighting, what percentage of your workout and your effort in a week went into that strength and conditioning, as opposed to your skill-based work and your sparring and things like that?
Yeah, so if you break it down, let's just say skill based versus strength and conditioning based, because I'll say for me it was the skill of wrestling, skill of jujitsu, and skill of stand up fighting. Okay, that's three skills. Strength and conditioning is one skill. So just by default of that, I would say it was 3-1. I don't know that to be 100% true, but it's or more than that, because even 4-1 because of sparring. So it was certainly a role, right? I would strength condition 2 times a week normally, and I'm training, like 10 to 13 times that week. So that's about 4-1 ratio of skill slash MMA training versus strength and conditioning.
Got it. And what was your strength and conditioning like? Were you lifting heavy, lifting light, lots of running, airdyne bike, swimming? People do everything.
Yeah, and it really influenced how I train now because I liked how I felt as a professional fighter, and I want to feel that way now. You feel like if you're fit, you're ready, you can climb a mountain, you can beat somebody up, you can, move this heavy thing from there to there. I just like that feeling. But it was a lot of I'm so much more evolved now in strength conditioning than I was then, just because I've learned so much more. But very little traditional lifting. I got into kettlebells. A lot of it was high intensity. A lot of it was intervals, mimicking a fight. Med balls, dummies, kettlebells, pull-ups, push-ups, squat jumps, isometric stuff. But it was round based, 3 5s or 5 5s, right? And I'd put a round on. So normally it was like between 4 and 6 rounds, depending on the type of fight. High intensity, interval based, 1 minute goes, short rest, or 5 minute goes, short rest.
And that's kind of how I structure mine as well, especially if there is a camp coming on, because you don't want to be going and right running a marathon when you're doing 3 sprints in the cage, right? Those 3 5-minute rounds. Now you do need that kind of steady state cardio, but at the same time, I feel like training your body to go and do that long form cardio is almost a training session in itself, where you're not then focused on the fight.
Yeah, it is. And there are plenty of successful fighters in combat sports that cross the gamut here. Boxers that they're infamous or famous for running. Road work. Road work is it. So I've heard plenty of people, pay importance to road work. I road worked to lose weight, whether that's the best way to do it or not. But yeah, I mean it's a lot of anaerobic training, meaning like short bursts versus like long and drawn out. Whereas today in my training, again, which mimics what I used to do, I'll put in 10 miles every, I don't know, week to 10 days just to keep that end of my body working, functioning.
And I said that was my last question, but I thought of something while we were talking about this, and it has nothing to do with fighting and more about the strength and conditioning. Do you feel that the workouts that you do and the way that you still train your body like you're going into a fight benefits you on the business side of things in terms of mental clarity, preparedness, those things?
Yeah, for those two things specifically. So absolutely yes. And I was going to say, I feel like I'm fitter. I think okay. So if you can separate the strength and conditioning from the fight training, I'm a more fit fighter than I was then, right? Granted, I'm not hitting mitts. I'm not like doing that stuff, but on the strength and conditioning, I'm much fitter than I was. But yeah, I mean the clarity, the resilience, the mental toughness, but also this. If you walk into a room, right? Let's say you gotta make a phone call. You gotta make a phone call. You want to sell a thing. You got to get up on stage. You're, I don't know, meeting your new girlfriend or boyfriend's parents, and you're super nervous, right? Because you want to ask for their, well, whatever. Knowing that you're fit and you're like physically competent, you can dominate if called upon. That's like a really comforting feeling in any area, right?